Today, we're talking about guns, especially gun violence. We've had some gun violence in this country. I live in the United States. Recently, there's been some stuff, and there's lots of debate about what should we do with guns. If there, wasn't any guns, then this stuff wouldn't happen. And I would like to talk, or I guess argue today, or share my ideas on why, if you get rid of citizens' guns, you actually might increase gun violence in this country. And I understand the argument when someone says, it's so much easier to kill a school, a bunch of kids at a school with an automatic weapon versus if there were no guns, if we got rid of guns, if we had really, really, really strict gun control laws. And I say, I understand that argument. And yes, that makes sense. But the root of the cause is still not being addressed. And I would like to, if I want to solve a problem, I want to go to the root cause of these things. And I want to talk about the root causes of things, but let's just first talk about that solution. Okay, you get rid of the guns, you get rid of the citizens' guns. Who now has guns? Police? Well, let's just say you get rid of the police. Military? Well, we've got to keep the military police because, or we've got to keep the military guns because, there's wars that could need to be fought. And then you go, well, that there might be a much bigger disaster than having military with guns, police with guns, and citizen with guns. Yes, there's going to be these times when people, get a hold of a gun and irresponsibly use it, of course. But when you have concentrated power and there's no opposition, what's stopping those people who have the power from executing tons of people? We've seen this before in other nations where the power was concentrated. And so they used that power to literally execute people. Now, maybe they didn't necessarily do it by firing squad, all right? And maybe you wouldn't say that that's a mass shooting. But let's just think about that for a second. Just because someone was told in the military to kill certain people, whether it's by burning them to death, whether it's by drowning them, whether it's by shooting them. Are you making the world better? Are you making your country better by giving the power to a small concentrated few who now have all of the power and there's no balance? And you might say, well, JD, they have all the power today. I mean, what's someone going to do with a bunch of guns at their house that the military couldn't do with a drone or with a tank or with any of these high-powered things that we have? I understand that, but look at Afghanistan. Look at some of these wars that we've been waging recently. We have all of that technology, but yet we still can't completely take over. No one wants to die in a gunfight. No one wants to go to war against anyone. Anyone. That is where the power of the Second Amendment really lies, I believe. Because once you've introduced these powerful machines, it makes people think twice about engaging on that level. What's the whole thing with nuclear weapons? We have nukes, you have nukes. We're going to sign and say no one can use them. Because we know what happens when one person uses them, we're all dead. And that's the same thing with gunfights. I've got them, you've got them. Let's talk. Let's get it down at the negotiating table, because even if we fight and even if I win, I might have one leg, all right, by the end of it. Most of the time, you end up maimed in a gunfight. And this is the same thing on the bigger scale. So, taking it a step further. Okay, let's just say we get rid of guns for everyone. The military doesn't have guns. We don't have anything anymore. People are still going to have metal weapons. Let's just say knives and maces and bows and arrows and things like that. Well, what then? Then you get rid of all those things, okay? You can't even cut your food anymore, all right? You're going to gnaw it with your teeth. Okay, great. Well, then what? You're going to outlaw martial arts, all right? Because the power gets concentrated no matter how you look at it. The power is going to get concentrated. The most skilled sword fighters are going to be the most dangerous people, all right? And those people are going to end up having the power, okay? Then you get rid of the swords. It's the martial artists, the people who know how to use their fists and their knees and their elbows and their body as their weapon, or just being big and strong. Are we going to outlaw being big and strong? Vehicles. I can kill someone with a vehicle. There's so many different ways of killing people. What are the root causes? And this is where we really want to get into it, because who are the people that are committing these mass shootings? I found a theme, and maybe this isn't exact on every single one, but it tends to be younger people, not babies, not children, but younger adults who are mentally unstable. They have some sort of mental disease. They might be on some sort of medication that goes along with that. They might be using some sort of drug, or they might be using some form of alcohol. They might be using something that isn't making things clear in their head. What are the themes behind these people? And let's look at the root causes. Why are young people so mentally unstable? Let's just say, if that's the case. Why are people mentally unstable in this country, right? Why are people on so many antidepressants or mental health drugs? Why are people using drugs? We have the opioid crisis. Why are people using alcohol? We look at a lot of crime. The crime a lot of times has to do with alcohol and drugs, but we're not looking at alcohol and drugs as the problem. We keep looking at the guns. The guns are at the scene of the crime. And yes, I agree 100%. It's a lot easier to kill someone with a gun than it is to kill someone with a set of nunchucks. Okay, I get that. But what I'm saying is whether or not you have guns, whether or not you kill people, you're still going to have this underlying issue that we're not solving. And my way of looking at things is, again, I want to get to the root. And I think the conversation should be more about, why are people so upset? Why are people going out and doing these things? Back in the Wild Wild West days, I don't ever recall hearing about a story from those times when everyone had a gun, everyone had a six-shooter, okay? You used to duel people over disputes. Literally, you would shoot people in the face over disputes, and that was accepted in our society. I never heard about someone walking into a church and just killing a bunch of people for no reason. Maybe they went into an area and they killed one person. Okay, maybe they shot someone else because they were trying to get this bandit or whatever, and the shootout happened. But there wasn't this killing of innocent people. Look at that theme. They go to churches, they go to synagogues, they go to mosques, they go to places where people, schools, especially elementary schools, colleges, places where people are defenseless, and they know that. And so what is causing people to commit such heinous crimes? Let's look at that. And let's look at the themes that go along with that. That's what I say. If we just look at the guns, you're just going to consolidate power into a different area. Like I said, even if you got rid of all the guns and all of the weapons from the military and the citizens, you'd still have concentration of power of people that know how to use other forms of weapons, or you know how to use their body. Or, like I said, are you going to outlaw someone being big and strong? Right? A big, strong person who's a martial artist or someone who's skilled is going to beat someone who's smaller 10 times out of 10. This is why they have weight classes in things like boxing and mixed martial arts, because the bigger guy is going to be able to just pick the other guy out by his head. So what do we do then? We have to, again, understand why people are going to commit these crimes. Look at the workings of alcohol abuse and substance abuse. I'm right there with it. It changes who you are as a person. Most crimes are committed in this country with people under the influence of some form of drug or alcohol. Alcohol can be a drug, right? Because they're not thinking they're in their right mind. Well, what if also these kids aren't in their right mind and they're committing these crimes? Well, why don't we get to the root causes of that? Because then what about suicide? What are you going to get rid of? Rope? Okay, people can just hang themselves. That's another huge crisis that, yes, it makes it easier to, look, I haven't bought a gun because of that reason. One of those reasons why I have been very mentally unstable. And if I had a gun, who knows what would have happened? I'm not saying that I would have, but I'm hesitant. I've been hesitant in the past. I want to get a gun now, but I've been hesitant in the past because I've had suicidal thoughts, and it would have been a lot easier with a gun. So I understand that argument. But why was I suicidal? Don't you want to do work in that area versus where, I have a knife, all right? I use a knife every day. What's stopping me with that? I could hang myself with these things right now. I could jump in front of a train. I know how to kill myself in 50 different ways because I've thought about it over and over again. What's stopping me? What's stopping me from taking action? What's stopping someone else? Those are the things that I think that we need to get into. I'm learning about that myself. Community, connection with higher power, something bigger than yourself. There's so many different things that we need to look at that go into someone's mental health. And if we don't look at that, whether someone has a gun, whether someone has a knife, whether someone has a vehicle, whether someone has anything to be able to kill another person or kill themselves, are still going to be there. Because people, I hate to break it to you, people have been killing each other for the beginning of time. You look at animals, same thing. We're going to use what we have. Now, of course, it is easier to kill more people when you have weapons. But like I said, if the citizens don't have weapons, you consolidate power to a small group of people. And if that group of people decides that you're on the list of dead, you're dead. And you can't do anything about it. There is no fight. There is no negotiation table because you have a gun and I have a gun. And look, as much as I might be more skilled, I don't want to take the chance, okay? That goes away because you consolidated power and then all of a sudden they get to do whatever they want. And all of this stuff about, the government being a totalitarianism, that will be totalitarianism, and it doesn't matter what the person believes. They will have all of the power, and if they say jump, you better say how high, because if you say anything that opposes them, you're going to be put into a very, very difficult situation because you're not going to be able to defend yourself and the people won't. So that's the essence of it. And even with all of the high technology that we have with the government, they still don't want to get into that fight because at the end of the day, it comes down to weird spaces, just like in wars like Afghanistan, weird, tight little spaces. We don't know where to get these people. You got to go in there with a person, and that gets scary. Now, that could change if we end up having robots and things like that. That's another thing. How do we want to approach this stuff? How do we want to approach AI? How do we want to engage with these higher levels of technology and put the power in certain people's hands? Are those people stable? Do we want to look at what causes people to act in crazy ways, or do we want to just blame it on the technology? I say, let's look at people, because people are going to be in control of the AI. People are going to be in control of the drones and the bombs and the guns. Let's look at that side of things, and maybe we can make changes in that area if that's what you really want long term. But if you just get rid of citizens' guns, you're looking at things, in my opinion, you're looking at things very short-sightedly, and you might end up creating conditions that will create way more gun deaths because people will be defenseless. And then I can just go in and bang, 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 right? Imagine if people are upset about ICE and them taking power right now with these immigration things. Imagine if the military decided they wanted to get rid of not just illegal immigrants. For whatever reason, they are racist. Let's just say that's this stupid fantasy that people have. Let's just say if they have all the weapons, you get rid of those guns. What's stopping them from getting rid of every colored person in this nation? If it was some white supremacist totalitarian, you're creating the conditions for that to happen. So I look at that and I say, let's think twice. Let's think about what are the real reasons why people are doing these types of things, and let's get to the root causes. That's just my 2 cents on things. What do you think? All right. I can't hear you, but comments, all right, those things help. I always say to people, start your own YouTube channel, share your opinions. If it's going to be the truth, if you're sharing what you are expressing as what you're actually thinking and you actually are saying what you're thinking, then great. If you're just going to tout something, some belief or some belief system that you might not necessarily believe in, but you're trying to align with because you want to get social credit, you want to get some brownie points for aligning with a certain thing, that's not what I want. I want you to speak the truth. What's really on your mind? That way we can come to real solutions and we can actually get to the bottom of things. So that's it for today. Until next time, I'll see you.